and Bennett out front tonight stalling Israel. When it comes to Iran, President Obama and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are going to great lengths to look and sound like they're on the same page. Today, there were handshakes, there were photo ops, there were a whole lot of cameras in that room. They both wore blue ties. A 2-hour meeting followed by a working lunch and lots of friendly language.
As I've said repeatedly, the bond between our two countries is unbreakable.
The Israeli Prime Minister echoed the sentiment, saying Iran viewed the United States and Israel as one and the same.
You know, for them, you're the great Satan, we're the little Satan. For them, we are you, and you are us. And you know something, Mr. President? At least on this last point, I think they're right. We are you, and you are us. We're together.
But if you listen closely, it's not so cut and dry. There is reason to think the two countries may not be standing together so closely when it comes to Iran. Here's President Obama again.
We do believe that there is still a window that allows for a diplomatic resolution to this issue.
And here's the Prime Minister.
Israel must have the ability always to defend itself by itself against any threat. And that when it comes to Israel's security, Israel has the right, the sovereign right to make its own decisions.
Now, we spoke to several U.S. diplomats and senior military advisors today to try to read between the lines. Most agreed with Colonel Cedric Leighton, former member of the Joint Staff and former deputy director of the National Security Agency. He told us, quote, the talks in D.C. make a unilateral Israeli attack less likely in the next few months. But he stresses, quote, today's discussions bought us a little time, nothing more. The bottom line is neither Israel or the United States say they will accept a nuclear-armed Iran, but they don't agree on when to intervene militarily. The diplomatic détente coming as the International Atomic Energy Agency chose today, interesting timing, to repeat warnings about possible, quote, activities, including a containment chamber used for high explosive tests at Iran's Parchin military site. Inspectors have been denied access to the Parchin site in recent months. The head of the IAEA says the agency continues to have serious concerns regarding possible military dimensions to Iran's nuclear activities. With worries about Iran causing oil prices to rise, can President Obama keep Israel from military action? Will sanctions work? That really is perhaps the most crucial question that we are facing right now when it comes to Iran. Naftali Bennett is Benjamin Netanyahu's former chief of staff. Hooman wrote an op-ed this weekend entitled Starving Iran Won't Free It. The Iranian-American journalist is also author of The Ayatollah Begs to Differ. And appreciate both of you being here. Thanks. And as we all noted smilingly coming into the segment, you are side by side. So let me start with you, though, Naftali. Obviously, this has been much reported on. Leon Panetta earlier telling a journalist, David Ignatius, that Israel could be prepared to strike Iran militarily this spring. Did this meeting change that timing?
Well, I think the good news from this whole summit is that Obama made very clear that Iran is a mortal danger to America's national interest and to the entire world, and that he's now adopting the doctrine of prevention rather than accepting a nuclear Iran. The bad news is that words said in Washington don't stop the installation of centrifuges in Natanz. As these talks are going on, Chief Inspector Amano of the UN reported that Iran has tripled the pace of production of 20% grade uranium, that they're moving the installations underground, and pretty shortly the window of opportunity to take out these nuclear facilities is going to be closed for Israel. And I think that's the crux of the problem. Within
how big that window is, that seems to, in your view.
And I think it's important to emphasize there's going to be a certain period where Israel can no longer do the job, and then essentially, Obama is telling Israel, you depend on us, trust us. But does it make sense for the Israeli nation to sort of outsource our very existence to Obama? That's a very tough request to ask. I don't think we can accept it.
I'm going to ask you more about timing in a moment.
Sure.
Hooman, let me ask you a fundamental question here about the sanctions. Obviously, President Obama is relying on them, and he has put crippling sanctions. He's gotten Europe on board, not countries yet like China. But you are very skeptical as to what those sanctions might achieve.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know that sanctions are going to achieve anything. If the sanctions have the goal to change the regime's behavior, Iran's behavior, that's not going to happen. No Iranian inside Iran believes that sanctions are going to make Iran change or capitulate to American demands. Demands that they stop enrichment, demands that they stop their nuclear program, which they claim is for peaceful purposes.
Peaceful purposes, yes.
And if the sanctions have the side goal of changing the regime by forcing the people to suffer so much that they rise up and overthrow the regime, that's not going to happen either. So what is exactly the goal? We talk about diplomacy, but there really isn't any diplomacy. The fact is that there has been no diplomacy with Iran. There have only been sanctions. There have only been sticks and no carrots. Nothing has been offered to Iran.
What carrot could President Obama offer?
Well, it depends on what your goal is. First of all, right now, contrary to what the Israeli government says and our own government says, is that Iran has not made a decision to build a bomb. Iran has not moved forward with the weapons program.
Well, then sanctions themselves, if that's true, are not justifiable.
No.
I mean, that's the thing. You can't say that you're putting sanctions so they won't have a bomb if you don't think that they're trying to do that.
Exactly.
There's something logically inconsistent about that.
There is completely inconsistent because Leon Panetta has said, and President Obama himself has said, they have not made that decision to build a bomb or to move forward with weaponization.
I think no one in the world anymore has a doubt of Iran's intent. I mean, you don't build, just over the past 2 months, you don't install 2,600 centrifuges underground if you're not going to use it for weapons. You don't enrich uranium 20%, over 109 kilograms of that, for peaceful reasons. You don't develop weaponized warheads for peaceful uses. So I think that's behind us. Regarding the sanctions, though, I do agree that the current sanction architecture is too soft, too slow to make any dent. Perhaps paralyzing sanctions will do the job. For sure, the current sanctions will not.
One question, though. Is it possible that Iran is doing all these things because they want it to look like they're trying to go down that way because it's pride? They want to show that they can. After all, Israel has nuclear weapons and isn't supposed to, and they want to show that they can do that, even though they're not really, that this is bluffing?
That's unlikely. Look, you know, our history teaches us something very simple. When a leader, a foreign leader, an enemy, says he's going to annihilate you, believe him. And we're listening to what Ahmadinejad said, what Khamenei says just a few days ago. He said, Israel is a cancer tumor and we've got to remove it. So we take this threat very seriously, and so does President Obama, and that's good news. President Obama has none of the doubts that my friend here is talking about.
Well, I mean, we have to remember.
Well, some of his deputies have been indicating as such recently. I mean, they've been coming out with this whole question on intent. But can I just ask each of you this, because you have very different points of view on it, but this is something more and more people have been asking me about. What if Iran gets nuclear weapons capability? Some people say, so what? What's wrong with containment?
I think the notion that a maniacal, radical Islamic regime will be able to be contained, that the same rules of rationality apply on Ahmadinejad as they did with the Soviet Union, is insane. I think the Soviet Union or anyone has never, except Iran, has never talked about annihilating a different nation, and that's what Iran is doing day in and day out. I think Iran, there's no doubt today that Iran is the world's biggest exporter of terror. They're killing people all around the world. They're the lifeline of Assad's regime right now that's butchering thousands of Syrians.
Well, the U.S. government, the Obama administration, has accused the Revolutionary Guard of being behind a terror attack in the
Russia
U.S.
is the lifeline of Assad's regime, not Iran. Russia is a far more powerful country, and if Russia took away its support, and China, from Assad, he would probably fall. So that's unfair to say. Also, Iran is, I mean, to talk about them as saying they want to wipe another country off the map, and if they want to annihilate Israel, that's not actually true. That they've never actually said they want to or they are going to build a bomb and destroy Israel. That's just...
Well, last week, I think one of their senior military officials said if Israel threatens them, they're going to wipe them off the map.
Maybe I'll just remind ourselves, Ahmadinejad said Israel must be wiped off the map. He said Israel has reached the end like a dead rat.
He doesn't use the
word
shout
Israel. Of the Iranian nation is forever death to Israel. I've got 20 quotes of this maniacal, fanatic leader of Iran who's telling us, we're going to kill you, we're going to annihilate you. I take him seriously.
But
Final word to you, why would, if it goes in that direction, could containment be a policy that we should consider?
Well, absolutely. I think it should be. If it goes in that direction, I think we still have a lot of time to get to the point
to see if it goes there.
If it even goes there to begin with. But if it were to happen, I don't think Iran is any more dangerous as a country. It's not going to protect the regime. Nuclear weapons aren't going to protect the regime. And in terms of maniacal, I mean, Stalin was maniacal. He killed, how many millions of his own people did he kill? But he never used a nuclear weapon. I don't think Iran is going to ever use a nuclear weapon if they ever even decide to build one.
All right, well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Appreciate your coming on side by side. And this is going to be fascinating to see how this plays out. All right, well, we're just